I've always wanted to travel the world, and credit card reward points have allowed me to do just that. If you're interested in seeing how I was able to backpack Europe in a little over 2 weeks and visit 12 different countries, then this video is for you. This video is going to help you be able to strategically plan a trip to Europe, whether you want to visit 6 countries, 1 country, or 10 plus countries like I did. You will learn how I was able to do that, and you will see the itemized receipts. Now, a caveat for this is my trip to Europe was a trip for 2. So I have to allocate points for 2 people to get to and from each different country. So depending on how many people you have in your party, whether it's 1 or 4 or 3, this could influence how you're able to do this trip as well. Another caveat I do have is that I'm active duty military. So the credit cards that I do have, I have the annual fees waived on them. So for American Express Platinum cards or Chase Sapphire Reserves or US Bank Altitude Reserves, I have those annual fees waived. And so it's as if the credit card companies are paying me to have the card. Another caveat is I am restricted to how much leave I have. I cannot just go trying to travel around Europe and backpack Europe for 6 months. The military is not that type of job. So I'm restricted to how much time off that I have. And so within the time off that I have, I like to explore as much of the world as possible. This will change in the future when I feel like I've explored as much of the world as I can, and then I'll start doing 1 week here, 2 weeks there in one spot. When I add up the cash value that it took to take this trip and how much value I was able to extract out of credit card reward points or just holding on to a credit card, it's around $11,000. So hopefully by now you're hooked and I got you right where I want you. Let's jump into these numbers and let's see how I was able to do this backpacking tour of Europe, visiting 12 different countries, totaling $11,000 of extracted value from credit cards. Let's go! Okay, so my home airport is BWI, Baltimore Washington International Airport. Now, I had to figure out what's the cheapest way that I can get to Europe. And I figured it out. It's through Iceland, particularly flying to Keflavik and then staying in Reykjavik. So I had to figure out what's the cheapest way to get to Iceland. And the cheapest way that I found to get to Iceland is through an airline called Play Airlines. Now you can go through Iceland Air, you can transfer some points, you can book through the Chase Travel Portal and use Iceland Air, but I think the most value that you're going to get is just using Play Airlines. It's a very cheap airline and it's going to get you there. So this is the only flight that I ended up coming out of pocket for. And the amount that I came out of pocket for 2 people was $613.94, and this was on August 1st of 2023. Now getting to Iceland was just my stepping stone to get to Europe, because once you get to Europe, the flights are pretty cheap. So even though Iceland is very far away from the mainland of Europe, Iceland is still Europe, so the flight from Iceland to the rest of the mainland of Europe is still really cheap. So I bit the bullet and we paid $613.94 to fly Play Airlines on August 1st and then arrived on August 2nd, that morning of August 2nd, in order to get to Reykjavik. Now in Reykjavik, we ended up staying 1 night, so the night of the 2nd, and then checking out on the 3rd. And that night cost us 60,000 Hilton points. This was pretty decent value. Normally I expect to get around 0.4 cents per point. This was around that. The cash equivalent for those 60,000 points is $319. So it was actually a little bit better than the normal 0.4 cents per point that I'm used to getting with Hilton points. And we ended up staying at the Hilton Nordica. Now the Hilton Nordica is still within about 2 miles of the city center of Reykjavik, and I love Reykjavik. I would go back in a heartbeat. That's one of my favorite places. Iceland is one of my favorite places. I wish I could have gotten to explore more, but I had places to go. We had places to be, so we only got to explore a little bit. But while we were there, we went to this lagoon. It wasn't Blue Lagoon, but it was a lagoon in Reykjavik. Blue Lagoon is much closer to Keflavik, which is where the airport is. And then from Keflavik, we had to take a rental car in order to get to Reykjavik. And that ride was around an hour. It takes about an hour to drive from Keflavik to Reykjavik. Now, we did have to get a rental car, and that rental car ended up costing us 38,534 membership reward points. And the cash equivalent of that was $269.74. So not the best value that you can get out of membership reward points, but sometimes you really don't have a choice. You're either stuck with paying cash, or sometimes you have to pay points, or sometimes you have to use a different point. But when you combine everything isn't always going to be as optimal by itself, but it's optimal for the whole game plan. And we ended up using 6. So once we got to Reykjavik on the 2nd, We use Sixt, and Sixt is a rental car company that I believe I have a little bit of status with using credit cards. So we booked it from the 2nd to the 3rd. Now, while in Reykjavik, staying at the Hilton Nordica, it was a great hotel. There is a Hilton closer to the city center, which might be more worth it for you if you kind of just want to walk everywhere. But I had to think about all of the Hilton points that we had, and I had to get the cheapest, best option for our situation. So August 3rd, now the trip really begins. We take our rental car and we drive back over to Keflavik and we hop on a flight. And for this flight, we're going from Reykjavik to Rome, and it's a red eye. Speaking of red eye, in Iceland, it does not get dark until around 10 p.m. It's actually 10 o'clock at night. It's 10 o'clock at night. It was the weirdest thing. It was a crazy thing, and this is why I love traveling. But we ended up using 32,000 United miles to get from Reykjavik to Rome. And in the course of this particular travel, we did have a stopover in Oslo, Norway. The cash equivalent for the 32,000 United miles that we used to book Scandinavian Airlines was $384. Now, since it was a red eye and we did have a stopover, we ended up arriving to Oslo at around midnight, and our flight would end up taking off at around 7 a.m. So we could either sleep at the airport or we could sleep at an airport hotel. Luckily, their airport hotel, the Radisson Blu Airport Hotel, was just a short walk away from baggage claim. So we ended up staying at that Radisson, and we used 23,000 membership reward points with American Express in order to book that. We got $131 worth of value out of that booking. As you can see, my membership reward points have not been able to get me a lot of value, but since they're there, since they were plentiful, since I had enough, I was able to make this booking. Now we sleep in Oslo, Norway, and then we wake up and then we make our flight on time. And so we're heading to Rome. Like I said, we already spent 32,000 United miles and booked with Scandinavian Airlines to get to Rome. Now, once we get to Rome, we had a pretty nice hotel. It was the Westin Excelsior Marriott. I used an 85,000 point free night certificate that I have from the Marriott Bonvoy Brilliant card in order to pay for one night at this hotel. The cash equivalent for this booking, based on the type of room that we had, is $826.04. Now, Rome was cool. I encourage everyone to visit Rome, see the Colosseum, see the Pantheon, eat some Italian food. Great spot. But we got more to go. So we were only able to stay in Rome for one night, just based on the travel logistics, and then we had to be out of there on the 5th. Now from Rome, we had to get to Austria to do some summer snowboarding at Hintertux. Now, was I going to fly into Salzburg? Too expensive. What I opted for is flying into Munich, Germany, and then taking a rental car and then heading down to Innsbruck, Austria. There's a few reasons why I opted for this route. I got to go to Germany, I got to drive on the Autobahn, I got some German food on the way because we had around a 2.5-3 hour drive from Munich airport to Innsbruck, and I think it was worth the experience to have that drive. So it ends up costing us 27,000 Chase Ultimate Reward points to book Lufthansa Airlines, which was a cash value of $411 for 2 people. Now we get to Munich and we get a rental car, and I ended up getting upgraded to an M3. So I'm speeding down the Autobahn in a BMW M3. That was worth it for me, but it was also a free upgrade. That rental car booking cost 12,892 Chase Ultimate Reward points, which was a cash value of $193.38. And again, the rental car company was Sixt, and that's it for rental cars for this trip. Then we ended up driving to Innsbruck, and we stayed at the Innsbruck Tivoli Hilton. We stayed 2 nights. One night cost us 36,000 points, and the next night cost us 40,000 points. So in total, this was 76,000 Hilton Honors points. And we had a great time summer snowboarding at Hintertux. Now, August 7th, we got to be out of there. So we have to head back up to Munich to fly out. This next flight will be from Munich to Prague, and we had a stopover in Poland. So it ends up costing us 27,000 Chase Ultimate Reward points to book from Munich to Prague, which was a cash value of $419 on LOT Polish Airlines. By the way, for these stopovers and anytime I was at an airport, I was always in a Priority Pass lounge because the value that you get from Priority Pass lounges in Europe is much better than what you get in the United States. So while I didn't itemize food in all of these receipts, food was still highly subsidized due to having Priority Pass lounge access. Now, Prague ended up being one of my favorite destinations. So we get to Prague and we stay in the Hilton Prague Old Town. This is right in the city center of Prague. It's a great destination. It's actually one of Europe's oldest capitals. But Prague ended up costing us 50,000 Hilton Honors points per night, and we stayed 2 nights, so that's 100,000 Hilton Honors points. Now the point valuation for that is $426, so we're right around that 0.4 cents per point for Hilton Honors points. Now Prague was great. The Charles Bridge, I encourage you to have a beer in Prague, definitely, but once again, we got places to go. From Prague, we're heading to Paris. Prague to Paris cost us 13,000 Chase Ultimate Reward points, and that was a cash value of $202 on Swiss Airlines. So you hear Swiss Airlines, we did have a stopover in Zurich, Switzerland. And the flight from Prague to Paris was on August 9th. Paris is an interesting one because Charles de Gaulle Airport is so far away from what you would consider like the city center of Paris, even though I don't think Paris has a city center. It's so big, but Charles de Gaulle CDG is so far away from there that we ended up staying at a hotel at the airport because I knew our flight out of Paris was very early in the morning and the traffic in Paris could have been a problem should I have decided to stay in downtown Paris. So I had a good time in Paris, get your Eiffel Tower pic. We even took a trip to Versailles, but the hotel that we ended up staying at was the Hyatt Place Paris Charles de Gaulle Airport, which wasn't as close to the airport as it sounds, like the Radisson Blu in Oslo, Norway, which you only needed to walk across the street from baggage claim. But the Hyatt Place CDG was still considered an airport hotel, so we stayed there, and this is probably where the best value of the entire trip came because we stayed there 2 nights and we used 3,500 points per night to stay there, 3,500 Hyatt points to stay there, so 7,000 total points, and the cash equivalent is $586.92. That's the best value out of here. I am not a big fan of Hyatt. At least I don't like the Hyatt credit card, even though I have it. I'm not a big fan of Hyatt customer service, but I cannot deny, if you want to maximize the amount of time that you can spend in one place, I would do 2 things. You could either use Chase Ultimate Reward points and then transfer them to Hyatt, and around 30,000 points that could carry you for a week, or you can get the sign-up bonus on a Hyatt credit card, and those points, if you're using them optimally, should be able to carry you for a little bit. All right, shall we continue this backpacking tour? So on August 11th, we got to get out of Paris and we got to head to Barcelona. Now this was one of the more expensive bookings that we had to do with Chase Ultimate Reward points for the both of us. We had to spend 32,000 Chase Ultimate Reward points to get from Paris to Barca, and this was a cash equivalent of $484, and we flew Air France. Now Barcelona was the spot that we spent the most time in. We rode public transit, we did a lot of walking, we did a lot of seeing Barcelona. It wasn't much of a, oh, you got to go to this landmark. It was just being there. It was just exploring the city. It was just seeing what you can get into. It was just feeling like a Catalonian. It was testing out your Spanish. I loved Barca. We ended up staying more on the east side of Barcelona at an AC Hotel Barcelona Forum Marriott, and we stayed for 2 nights, but we did spend the most time there because we got there really early in the morning. Each night cost us 32,000 Marriott points. So total, that's 64,000 Marriott points to stay at that AC Hotel Barcelona Forum, which was a fairly nice hotel, but it definitely wasn't the best, and I wouldn't stay there again. But that cost us 64,000 points, and the point valuation for that was $546. Now next on the list, and our last country that we got to visit in Europe, is Lisbon. We have to go to Portugal, so we go from Barcelona to Portugal, and this ends up costing us 28,000 Chase Ultimate Reward points. As you can see, Chase points were used to get us all throughout Europe. We used Play Airlines to get to Europe, and then once we got there, we used some United Miles to get to the main part, and then within the mainland Europe, we used Chase Ultimate Reward points. So it cost us 28,000 UR points to get from Barcelona to Lisbon, and that was a cash value of $422 on TAP Portugal. TAP Portugal is a special airline. They have the free stopover in Lisbon deal, but Lisbon was our destination, so we didn't get a chance to use that free stopover. And then Lisbon was great. We stayed at a hotel called the Moxie Lisbon City, and I had 2 ways to pay for this. I used a 35,000 point free night certificate that I got with the Marriott Bonvoy Boundless credit card, which I would eventually upgrade to a Chase Ritz-Carlton card later that year in 2023. And then I used 33,000 Marriott points that I already had. So the cash value of using that 35,000 point free night certificate with Marriott and the 33,000 Marriott points was $426. Now, Moxie's are like a brand of Marriott hotels, and they're an acquired taste. They have an aura about them that may only attract a certain type of person. Depends on who you are. I'm about getting the most value, so I don't have an issue with it. But if the Moxie hipster thing isn't really your deal, then maybe don't stay there. But for us, the Moxie provided the best value for our Marriott points in Lisbon. And Lisbon was fun. I bought a Portugal Cristiano Ronaldo jersey. We visited the Belém Tower. We had food. I'm forgetting the name of the famous food hall there, but Lisbon was fun. I got a Benfica jersey for myself and player 2. Lisbon was fun. Had a great time there, but all things must come to an end. So we had to go home. Now, how did we get home from Europe? So we used 125,000 Chase Ultimate Reward points to get from Lisbon back to BWI. We flew Air Canada, so where was our stopover? That's right, YYZ in Toronto. These 125,000 Chase Ultimate Reward points gave us a cash value of $3,756.12. So on August 15th, we were out of there. Now, we did end up having to stay an extra night in Toronto because our plane had a mechanical issue while we were on the plane, and then they made us get off. So we did not have to pay for a hotel in Toronto. We would end up taking a flight the next morning. They just gave us a voucher for the cab in order to get to the hotel, and then they gave us a voucher to stay at the hotel, and then another voucher to get from the hotel back to the airport so we could fly back to BWI that next morning. So now we're home. Let me give you all the totals, and I'll start with the flights. Total United miles spent on this trip was 32,000 United miles. That was the trip from Reykjavik or Keflavik to Rome on Scandinavian Airlines. Total Chase Ultimate Reward points spent on flights for 2 people. That was 252,000 Ultimate Reward points. Now combine them both, total miles and points spent for flights on this trip, 284,000 points/miles. And this ends up being a cash equivalent of $6,692.06. Now we move over to the hotels. So the total Marriott points that we spent on this trip was 97,000 Marriott points. Total Hilton points that we spent was 236,000 Hilton Honors points. Total Hyatt points we spent was 7,000 Hyatt points. Total free night certificates that we used 2 free night certificates. That was an 85,000 point and a 35,000 point Marriott free night certificate. And then we spent 23,000 membership reward points on hotels. Total, this was 483,000 points that we spent on hotels for this trip, which translate to a cash value of $3,596.96. And then we make our way to the rental cars. So we had 38,534 membership reward points spent on a rental car in Reykjavik, and then in Munich we spent 12,892 ultimate reward points for a rental car. And we used the same rental car agency. So the combined points we used to book rental cars for this trip was 51,426 points. And this was a cash equivalent of $463.12. So as you can see, when you add $463 plus 3,596, basically 3,600 plus 6,700, you're getting over $11,000 worth of value just for having credit cards. Sorry for the wait, but if you made it this far into the video, make sure you hit the like button for me, hit the subscribe button, and then hit the notification bell, because I will do a reaction to this video, and I'm going to go through how I was able to earn all of these points and how you can too. I have another one of these videos coming out for the Epic Pass snowboarding tour that I did, where I went to Vail, Beaver Creek, went to Park City, went up to Whistler, went over to Europe to Andermatt. So I'd love to do a breakdown of that trip, just in case you would like to do that trip as well. Okay, I'm signing out. Peace.